I just wanted to go through a couple of housekeeping items before we begin the presentation. First and foremost, this session is being recorded, and you'll receive a recording link, a replay link rather, within 24 hours. Also, if you have any questions, be sure to use the question feature, and I'll get those over to Jay so he can answer any of your questions. Thanks, and without further ado, here's Jay Weiss.
Good morning, everybody, and to the people back in Arlington and Philadelphia area that were weather delayed with the events that we were supposed to do back there. I'm glad you're here. Let's just move forward here. Harry Brelsford's on the line, and I just want to pass this off to Harry.
There we go. Good morning, Jay. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining. As Jay indicated, we on our recent Lenovo-based tour for Windows XP migrations, we hit some weather on the East Coast. The weather is still out there on the East Coast. So this is a Make Good webinar, primarily for the people from Philadelphia and the Washington, D.C. area. But, Jay, the good news is we invited a lot of other friends along for the fun today. Let's get started. That's my background for those of you that I haven't met. Next slide, please.
And this is Jay Weiss. That's me. I've got over 25 years experience in the industry, lots of certifications, worked collaborating on books and speaking engagements, and with SMB Nation as an IT reporter. And
there we go. And then we have the SMB Nation community. Folks, we pride ourselves on being a community first and foremost. We're out there doing the work of technology every single day, just like you, and we built a, hopefully we built an excited and enthusiastic community surrounding SMB technologies. And, you know, I like to say the best is yet to come. I mean, there's more change going on than ever, and that's kind of what today's webinar is about. It's about some legacy issues, some migration issues, but the white elephant in the room is where are we headed? What are we going to do, and what's the chaos and disruption caused by that? So welcome to SMB Nation. Jay, next slide, please. And there you have it, SMB Nation, a community. And now, Jay Weiss, if you want to jump right into the heart of the presentation.
Yeah, so one of the things that SMB Nation did last year, they put together a 32-page primer on XP migrations. There was over 10 authors that contributed to the effort, and there's a lot of really good, valuable information in it. And you can find that at smbnation.com, Content Magazine, and that's the actual URL. You can see it was third quarter of last year. And, you know, download it and print it out. It has a lot of good, valuable information in it. So today's webinar is capitalizing on IT disruption in 2012. Let's get into that a little bit more. So on April 8th, 2014, which is this year, not too far away, XP is going to have end of life. There was a breaking news when we're on the road last month about a date being extended to July 14, 2015. But it was very misleading, and a lot of people got confused about that. That was just about antivirus protection. So you also have Office 2003 end of support on the 8th, and some Microsoft Server 2003 end of life. We'll look at that a little bit more a little bit later in the slide that we have. And of course, that includes Small Business Server 2003. So this is a great opportunity going forward to help your clients get off of XP and older software and move over to something new. So what do? New laptops, so desktops. Over 90% is kind of like what's being said out there in the industry, and I would suggest it's more than 90%. It's like 99%. why would you want to upgrade an old computer? What do you go to? Windows 8.1 or Windows 7? Also, do you go with Office 2013 or do you go with Office 365? What's the role of the server? I know you, Harry, have been working a lot on that. And just the last piece is the challenge as a customer trying to figure out what to buy. It's kind of like going to a restaurant and getting brain freeze. And that's what we're going to try to help you understand. Harry, would you add a couple comments on the role of the server?
I'm sorry, Jay, can you repeat? I was getting out a reminder notice just to our friends at sea that haven't logged on. Please repeat your question, sir.
I said, I know you're working on some stuff with the server group inside Microsoft, so I was wondering if you could add some comments about the role of the server moving forward.
Yeah, it's all under NDA. Next slide, please. Well, you know, Jay, it's a webinar into itself. I mean, it's almost a rhetorical question. What is the role of the server? Why are we here? And it's a big question. And the point is, the disruption caused by a migration puts everything in play. And as you saw, you said in particular your New York City workshop a couple of weeks ago, and I've seen in a couple of the different workshops, we've seen people ask, why do I have a server? I can go straight to Office 365. So that's one school. The other school is you have to have a server, and I get that too. We've been in cities where that's been the predominant line of reasoning, and so it's just all over the board. But the bigger question is why do we have a server in SMB? And it you know, tends to be need specific and based on the individual situation. Please continue. That's kind of what that's about.
Thank you, sir. I thought you might have some words of wisdom there. So this slide right here talks a little bit about what's out there in terms of different types of machines. So this particular slide, which is from September, shows that there's 31% of computers are running XP. And then you've got 46% are running Windows 7. Windows 8 has got a really small share, like 8%. Vista, that's one that I in the beginning when we started this tour, I kept like forgetting about, because it's like one of those operating systems that people don't usually talk about very much. And that's about 4%. And then you've got Mac. I was really surprised in looking at the slide what a small percentage of the marketplace is Mac. And then you've got other. So with that number, that percentage of computers that are running XP or Vista, there's a big opportunity. So let's move to the next slide. And that is, let's see. Again, we got April 8th, we got XP, Certistack 3, and Office 2003 will have end of support. And there's a whole thing about the lifecycle support policy that Microsoft has. It's, as you can see there, as a 10-year of support, 5 years mainstream support, and 5 years extended support. So let's just go to the next slide. So what's another reason that people should be moving off of XP? Well, security. USA Today did an article talking about doomsday for XP, and that on April 8th that the hackers will be coming out and really doing a major push. Also, eWeek had some articles. I'm going to see more and more things coming out in mainstream media regarding the issues with XP.
And Jay, what I would add is, folks, what we're laying out here is several pillar messages for both your own awareness and your own messaging to customers. So pillar number one is security. It's pretty well known, and it's absolutely true that that's at the end of the day, being promoted as the main reason to leave Windows XP and starting to get more and more popular press coverage. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome. Then one of my positions is, how do you explain this stuff to a customer? And a picture's worth 1,000 words. So right here, we've got an Amish buggy on a racetrack with a bunch of race cars. And I think, you just say, see that buggy? That's your computer. And this is the rest of the world. So I think if you take the concept of adding pictures that get the point across like this one, it'll be very helpful with getting the message across to your clients. I've been doing it with my clients, and it's been very, very effective. So this we talked about a little bit earlier about cyber criminals and XP 0-day. So it's more of the same information about the vulnerabilities of XP and hackers going to increase their efforts, but they're holding back now, waiting for April 8th. One of the things that we're seeing also is that there's a lot of XP out there in different places. We've got hospitals that are still running XP, ATMs, and it goes on and on. So functionality, you can't use Office 2013 on an XP machine. Also, the Intel Haswell chip won't work on XP. Harry, you want to add some stuff there?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so absolutely. I mean, that the Intel, how can I put this delicately or succinctly, as they lay off management functions to the Intel chipset, the architecture, the building blocks of XP are incompatible. So Intel's trying to have security down to the boot level and the motherboard and the chipset and so on. And Windows XP just doesn't support that security paradigm. I mean, think about it. Windows XP came out shortly after 9/11 in October 2001, and the world's changed. And of course, the tech, that's several chip generations from Intel. So you have a real issue in terms of the functionality. That's kind of how I would describe it at a high level, Jay.
Thank you, sir. So the other thing is productivity. So again, with the pillars, you have security and you've got productivity. The cost of running a computer with XP, TechIsle says over the course of a year, it's over $1,200. Intel says 5 times more support costs for older PCs. Lower productivity with an XP machine means it's going to cost, 1.8. I mean, it's going to cost more. That's it.
Well, yeah, Jay. So let me put a wrapper on this. So, older machines run slower. Okay, and we've all seen that. And if not your own machine, you've certainly seen it with family members you support or customers you support. What we have going on here is that TechIsle is our researcher. They did the research for our Windows XP migration guide. Anurag Arwal is kind of our guy that we've used for years. And he did the study for Intel, and he quantified what we know to be true. And so this is just arming you, the SMB channel partner, to have a conversation with your customer about the cost of low productivity, higher support cost. Again, you already know this. Now you have numbers to back it up from a well-respected research firm, and I would offer a research firm that's right in the heart of the SMB community. Jay, would you like to describe your? I saw a picture pop up there.
Yeah. Again, that was another picture of an two Amish buggies and a car in the middle.
Hey, I'll tell you what, let me also kind of help us understand that we're going through some pillar messages, folks. So we've gone through security, we've gone through functionality. Number 3 was the productivity, and now we're at compliance. So number 4 is compliance. Please continue, Jay.
Okay. So
essentially what's going on here, Jay, is in the compliance issue, especially in healthcare, there are serious penalties if your technology is insecure, and you have the exposure to fines, and so HIPAA is a huge area for the SMB consultant. And this is just a little pop quiz that want to have a little fun. That the High-Tech Act was part of HIPAA, which was overall part of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009, the stimulus. Next slide, please. Closely related to that is PCI. So we typically get a good show of hands. Go ahead and tap your keyboard, Jay, so we can see the answer. Is the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, A, for what PCI DSS stands for. And what I wanted to show you was a picture I took at Home Depot back in November. Excuse me, folks, fighting off cold. Back in November on a Saturday night in Paulsbo, Washington, as I was buying parts for my son's Boy Scout project. And what do you know? That's Windows XP at point of sale. That's a big deal. Next slide, please. It's really this third line that's coming up. Let the screen fill. There we go. Willful neglect, folks. What we're talking about is you have been put on notice that Microsoft will no longer support its operating system after April 8, 2014. So you and your customers are on notice. And there are serious ramifications if you don't adhere to this, the least of which is law firms that troll for class action lawsuits. And so you don't have to look any further than what happened to Target and Macy's and some other retailers recently. That's going to continue. There are lawsuits coming out of the Target matter. And so, you know, it's essential that you have a conversation with your healthcare and PCI-related clients about the need to upgrade off of Windows XP to the operating system of your choice. In reality, probably Windows 7, but in retail in particular, I'd actually encourage you to take a look at the tablets with Windows 8. It's just a personal opinion when you combine it with the Square or some kind of payment method. Next slide, please. That's compliance.
Yeah. I would just add on that, Harry, that, you know, what small business doesn't accept credit cards? And if they accept credit cards and they're running XP, it's considered willful neglect.
There we go. And then quickly, the Section 179 deduction, if you want to tap the keyboard, Jay, is a deduction that was created to spur capital investments. And so the idea was you could take a capital investment deduction up front instead of amortizing or capitalizing the expense over time. And so the Section 179 deduction is still available. So you could take $25,000 up front in time period 0 or the current tax year. Unfortunately, if you had done the XP migration and the IT work or started it, not completed it, but started it before December 31st, 2013, that amount was $500,000. And guys, as you act as a trusted business advisor, you have to be able to speak the language of business. I know we're geeks, but what occurred was this went up to $500,000 during the recession to spur capital investment. And now that the economy has its own footing, it's been reduced 95% down to $25,000. Now that's still a generous upfront deduction, but in all likelihood your migration will exceed $25,000. But I guess the point I'm making is that you want to be able to go to the customer and have a intellectual conversation as an educated individual, as an advisor. And I'll just leave it at that. Next slide, please. Quickly, this is what a 179 is, and I want to direct your attention to the middle of the screen. Computers and off-the-shelf software, furniture and equipment, and can include certain kinds of leases, which would wrap in your service time. Next slide, please.
Don't forget to talk to your CPA.
There you go. All right, Jay.
All right, so, you know, one of the questions that I was asking while I was on the road is how many people out there are running XP computers? We had a thing that came up, Harry, where there was some kind of statistic that like 70% of IT professionals were running XP computers, at least one XP computer? Wasn't it some insane number we were really shocked with?
Right, right. So that was an interesting study from Spiceworks that came out a few weeks ago. And what it was in their universe, so an IT pro, and in their universe they have at least one computer running Windows XP. Made for great headlines. I blogged it. So yes, 3/4 of IT pros somewhere, somehow have at least one machine running Windows XP. Oh my God, head for the hills. It actually played out really well in the blog sphere, right? That kind of stuff, and let's just say it kind of amplifies and magnifies the conversation. Now, understand what that number is. Are 75% of machines Windows XP? Absolutely not. But it was an interesting twist to present that everybody has an XP conversation in it. Does that make sense, Jay?
Yeah, it certainly does. So in pulling this slide together, I went back and looked at not only when XP came out, which was 2001, but Vista came out in 2006, and I was really surprised that time has passed so quickly, and Windows 7 came out in 2009, and then of course Windows 8 came out in 2012. So when you put that in perspective, and that computer years are like dog years, so one computer year is like 10 or more human years. So anything that came out in 2001 is over 13 years old, and then you calculate that out, we have over 100 years old, easily. So that's something to take in consideration. As you can see, the slide here, you can see all those, the migration of Windows from the 1985 to current. So how many people here are using Microsoft Office? Again, we've got the different versions. We're going to just go back to 2003, and that came out in 2003. You got 2007, 10, and yada yada all the way up to 2013. So where you go from here, XP was released in October 2001. Upgrade to Windows 7, ? Or Windows 8.1, which came out in October 2013. So when you're looking at the upgrade, the basic things are, do they go with 8.1 or 7? Out there in the field, what has been really interesting in talking to IT pros around the country is there's a passion when I bring that question up in the room. Are you going to put your clients on Windows 8 or Windows 7? And it's an interesting split. And anything, you just have to get them off of Windows XP, and I would recommend Windows 8.1 now, especially when you think about Windows 7 came out in 2009. And then, do you go with Office 2013, or do you go with Office 365? And then you also have the virtual desktop conversation too. For the most part, what I'm seeing out there is, as it relates to this typical small business customer, virtual desktops is not a big conversation.
Yeah, Jay, what I would add is, so first of all, folks, make yourself familiar with Office 365. I literally, with some server-side work I'm doing, I literally just completed the 365 course earlier this week. And that's an internal course, so unfortunately it won't be publicly available. But what a lot of people don't even know what Office 365 is. So for example, it includes Office 2013 Pro. So they're not mutually exclusive. It's additive. Office 365 includes Office 2013 Pro, plus the email, the storage, and other functionality. So you want to get to know that. And then the other thing I would tell you is that a day doesn't go by in Redmond where I'm not in a meeting where I'm reminded and I witness and I see Office 365's on fire, guys. I mean, look at the earnings report last week up on MarketWatch for Microsoft. Triple-digit growth in the Office 365 business unit, plus the new CEO announcement. That guy came from the cloud computing area. So, you know, typically, like if you're a Chevy or a Ford dealer, you typically want to be aligned with where Chevy or Ford are going. For example, you might want to learn about hybrid cars, even though you fancy muscle cars. So, I don't know. Just my free advice. Okay, please continue.
Okay, so I would say one of the other big things to take into consideration is whatever computer you're going to be recommending should include touchscreen. You're looking at, if you're buying a new computer, you want to make sure you're taking consideration where things are going. You may not be comfortable with touchscreen, but if you're going to be holding onto that computer for a couple of years, touchscreen is going to be more and more part of the operating system and the way people do business. So you should be thinking ahead now, and whatever you buy should include a touchscreen.
Yeah, you know, the idea here, folks, is that you typically don't invest backwards in technology. You typically invest forward. It's probably a good talking point to have with your customer. Touchscreen is amazing. Once you use it, it's addicting. We just converted to Microsoft CRM Online, and it has the touch paradigm. Salesforce does not. So, you know, I'd encourage you to invest forward. Well, Jay, this is an interesting slide. Talk to us, sir.
Well, I like the way you put this slide together, Harry, because, you know, it's like the first thing is, well, you know, if you're cheap or you're broke, go with Google Apps. I think you meant that humorously and not seriously.
No, that's right. Jay, I've been screwed quite to place.
So, yeah, I mean, this slide is pretty clear, pretty simple about Office. If people are running Office 2003, Office 365, or Office 2013.
Yeah, and what I would offer is, Jay, go back to that slide, please. Heather, let us know if we're getting any questions up on chat. I'll actually look over at the window a little bit too. Oh, I see we are. We're getting some feedback. Okay, Joshua. I can always count on Joshua. Joshua Lieberman doesn't like Office 3. Joshua, God bless you. He doesn't like Office 365 for the payout rate. I got to expand the window, by the way, Joshua. Forgive me. I'm going to have to break this out. I'm using a monitor where I can't see the whole question, but I get the gist. It's a 4% payout. Joshua was saying, give us a break. Harry, understood. Here's the deal. We live in a free and open economy, and we defend that right of customer choice. So if the question is, should we remove Office 365 because it doesn't subsidize an inefficient reseller business model, or we want to impede the progress of technology change, I can't do that. I can't, because Google's already doing it. I mean, the alternatives out there already are Office 365. So I don't know why Microsoft wouldn't have a competitive response to a free market condition. So you know, the choice is, if you don't like guns, don't own one. Don't buy a gun. Okay, that's the simple choice, is that there's customer choice out there. And I get it. In rural areas and the lower compensation model, it may not work for you. And it's an ongoing spirited debate that I would offer is protected by academic freedom. So with that said, Jay, would you like to pitch in on the Office 365 debate?
Yeah, actually, we had some interesting conversations about that yesterday. we're not going to be able to move the Titanic and get it to change direction. It just is what it is. But the opportunity there is the service side. That's where we've got to make our money, because we're obviously not going to make it on the reoccurring revenue of selling Office 365. It just is what it is, and that doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. So when you have with the conversations on the XP migrations that we've done, we've been able to make a lot of money on the installation and the education of the customers. So that's basically, if you can't fight City Hall, own it.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's always the resistance is futile argument. But let me knock out, we got a lot of questions now that I've actually opened up the window successfully. Let me knock these out. Any information on two-tier billing for Office 365, where we own the customer and charge whatever they want? You know what, Heather, if you could make a note, let's do a house webinar on Office 365 since it's got legs right now, and we'll get Tom Moan, one of the evangelists from the old SBS team. Long-timers on the team will remember Tom Moan working with Katie Hunter back in the late 90s on the SBS team. So we'll get Tom Moan on for an Office 365 webinar to answer specific 365 questions. This is, I can't use SBS 2008 or 11 with Office 365 question mark. Well, sure you can. I mean, sure you can. You can use 11 with Office 365 and have the Federation services for Active Directory going. Is the market share numbers for USA only or worldwide? Those were worldwide numbers. Joshua, Barry, really good stuff so far. Will we have access to the slides? Yes. And Joshua, resistance is never futile. Harry, Carl, slide not showing. Joshua, what happened to version 13 to IRS? Not sure what that is, but he said the IRS has issued forward guidance that Section 179 will probably return to at least 100K. That'll be next year. That is, thank you, Joshua. That is actually pretty good. What's the importance of the 15 dates versus the April 14 dates? I'll talk about that a little bit later. That's Kevin. Happy to make a note of that. And then Christy asked if we could get the slides. So, and folks, I do want to remind you, today is actually a 60-minute webinar, so we're going to have to kind of go fast forward on this, but just wanted to knock out the questions. Jay, I see we're at the traditional MIS 101 textbook migration slide of what a migration looks like. Please continue.
All right. Well, the whole thing is trying to make this Lego easy. And I would suggest that we don't use Amazon Easy, which is another term that is being used, because we don't want to point people to Amazon. That's kind of like what's going on with Best Buy now, where people come into Best Buy, they look at the stuff, and then they go buy it on Amazon. So I would suggest that we use Lego Easy to get the point across. And that would be, you go in, and when you get there, you do an assessment, and then from that assessment, you put together your proposal, you get approval, and then you purchase whatever you need in procurement, number 4. Then you do the work, and number 5. And number 6, make sure that everything's working properly, and then satisfaction from the client, and boom, you've got the whole circle of life. So let's move on, because we're moving quickly here. We've got to get through this. And that is XP Migrations and SMB Nation got an agreement going with Rapid Fire Tools. And so you can go to the XP Migrations website, download this tool, run it on the network of your client. You'll get a nice report that will show you the computers out there, and it'll help with then narrowing down the scope of work and then you move forward from that to the hardware. And Lenovo hardware is really good stuff. And my argument with my clients is, you know, this is not a throwaway item that you can throw away tomorrow. So spend a little bit extra and get a good, solid computer. And Lenovo's got some really great, great ones. Let's see, moving forward here. I'm actually looking at the slide deck. I'm going to move a little bit faster through some of these things here.
Yeah, well, Wambach application compatibility is something we researched and really becomes an issue over 1,000 desktops where there are custom applications that were developed after Y2K specifically for the XP security model. And there's an issue there because you might have a little mini Y2K, and people did not redevelop these applications for Vista because they did not like Vista. So, you know, we're aware in the mid-size space of application compatibility issues. Now, in the SMB space, what you're seeing is it can relate to accounting apps. You have to isolate a machine to keep your historic accounting data. We're hearing that down in SMB. But in general, the major suites, so Adobe, products like Camtasia, of course the Microsoft suite, they run on Windows 7 and Windows 8. Next slide, please.
Yeah, the other thing I would add is when I was out there doing some of these events, we had some printers that came up to us and said, you know, the big plotter printer that they've got, there are no drivers for Windows 7 or Windows 8, and they haven't been able to figure out a way around it, and so they need to maintain an XP machine. So, yes, the compatibility thing, you know, you definitely look at it, but in most cases, you'll be fine moving over to Windows 7 or Windows 8, but definitely make sure you look at that and take that into consideration. All right, so this is actually, you know, on that certification test, this is one of those, what I would consider a trick question, right? You got your acronym, EOL, end of life, and then you got EOS, end of support, and then you have EOES, which is end of extended support, which is April 8th, 2014. XP, some servers, small business server, and Office 2003. Anything you want to add on that, Harry?
Yeah, actually, I just clarified the Server 03 deadline. I need to clarify something. The Server 03 deadline is actually in July of 2015. Now, the SBS 03 deadline is ongoing, and the reason is certain components of SBS 03 are expiring along the way. So, for example, the early edition of SharePoint in SBS 2003 has already expired. And once a component of a bundle expires, it has the implicit effect of rendering the entire bundle of SBS as having been expired, right? They're kind of tied together. So you're going to see that with the Exchange 03 expiration date in 2014. But just to clarify on that slide, my apologies, folks, but the straight up Server 03 and Server 03 R2, that's July of 2015. But Jay, I know we're time constrained. Next slide, please, sir.
This is more of the same. We also have a slide a little bit further on that shows the actual end of life on what you were just talking about. So we'll get to that in just a second. So support costs, you know, XP is still supported until April 8th. Support instances are like $200 each.
Yeah. So here's the deal. XP is actually supported after April 8th, okay? And the way it's done is it's a $200 support incident. The support incident, that doesn't necessarily guarantee they'll have the fix or the patch you need, but they'll take your $200. And so the biggest question I want to pose off of this slide is why would you invest backwards? Why would you invest $200 potentially to support XP on a machine that has a book value less than $200? unless you have a big ego, right? Like, I love XP. So you could do it.
Yeah, so here's that slide that actually shows the end-of-life support, and you can see Windows Server 2003. It's got July 14, 2015. And like you were saying earlier, Harry, with Small Business Server 2003, certain pieces are extended, but certain pieces are not. And so now you've got, a whole mishmash of supported and unsupported in the total package, and that is an opportunity for disaster.
Okay, Jay, we have about 15 minutes left on this, and I'm going to, Jay, just a quick, let me make sure we've knocked out questions, or there's some low-hanging questions. Some I'll answer offline. Dennis Wilson saying, did not hear clearly on the 179 for 2015. Dennis, here's the deal. Today, the 179 deduction is $25,000. What Joshua Lieberman has suggested is that there are conversations, proposals, that will return to $100,000 in 2015. Here it is. It's called forward guidance. But the key point is that's not official yet. Okay, Jay, let's move on.
All right. So we have like a little thing here about looking at the money that you can make with an XP migration, how you should include it as part of your conversation. And moving forward, we're going to see more media coverage on it. And so if you're out there evangelizing now and talking about it, as the media gets back into the conversation, that you're going to be the people they're going to go to. So here's a simple example. If you just say one new customer a month with 15 endpoints over the course of 12 months, that's 180 endpoints altogether. And the revenue here of $200 is really low. What I'm seeing is a lot higher than that, because you've got some money that you can make on the hardware, and then you've got the services side. But just using this scenario here, that's $200 per endpoint. That's $36,000 over the course of a year. That's enough money to make me want to include it in my thinking for my IT services. So, and that everybody's going to be happy making more money. Wouldn't you say, Harry? Okay, I'm going to move forward here. So you got your verticals, and percentage-wise, the professional services, including legal, is about 23%. You got healthcare, 10%, and I would suggest that that's an easy market to support and get the message across. On the left-hand side, you see a picture of a cart in a hospital room when my wife was having hip replacement surgery. And I look over at the screen, and it's got the XP screensaver going, and I'm going, oh my God, even Kaiser Hospital, which is cutting edge when it came to technology, are still running XP machines. So it was pretty amazing. Okay, I'm just going to move forward here. So the other thing is we're looking at the XP migration as like a hockey stick approach, where it's been slow and people really taking it seriously, and we're expecting that as April 8th comes and after April 8th, it's going to shoot up. The demand is going to shoot up significantly, and it's got a life expectancy of like 3 years, 36 months. Anything else you want to add on that, Harry?
No, I mean, it all kind of comes down to philosophy. The last couple of slides. If you're motivated and excited about the opportunity, we rest our case. If the XP migration conjures up Redmond conspiracy theories and secret meetings and cabals and collusion, it's probably not the opportunity for you, right? I mean, all we're saying, guys, is that here's an event in the industry that you can capitalize on, and when you introduce a migration, you introduce disruptions, and people who are, there's a business model where you can be financially successful capitalizing on chaos and disruptions, and that's all we're saying. And if it's something that you don't care to do, that's fine, but we're just laying out what that looks like, that you could potentially add about a third more income over the next 12 months. And quite frankly, it probably has a long tail, useful life. The business model certainly out through 15 as customers finally motivate to get off XP. So, Jay, I see a tool from Z-Install. Sir.
Yeah. So here's, if you don't know about Z-Install is one program that you can use to do a migration. And they've got two different products. One is XP7, and the other is Win. And so XP7 is taking an XP machine and basically virtualizing it onto your Windows 7 or Windows 8 machine. If you absolutely have to, it's one alternative. It's one way to get somebody off of an old machine to a new machine. But the performance is limited, and you need to take that into consideration. There are some tweaks you can do to improve the performance. But if you have a quad core, the virtual machine will only use one core and limited memory. So look at the Z-Install. The Win-Win is pretty nice. It'll take everything, move it over to a new machine, including the programs. And programs that are not compatible on Windows 7 or Windows 8 will run. So one of the examples they use is Outlook Express 6, which is not supposed to work on Windows 7 or Windows 8. And using their tool, you can migrate, and it'll work. They have a partner program, so if you get set up with a partner program, the license for these things are less than $100, but you want to include that in your pricing when you're putting your estimate together. But it's a nice tool to help you move everything over and improve the efficiency of the migrations. So I'm going to move forward here on Lenovo's products to take in consideration some other stuff. So Lenovo has a combat kit that's awesome. I mean, you go in, and there's nothing like letting people see, feel, and touch the devices. It's been such a great tool. I was talking to one IT professional out there. There's two ways to get this. One is to purchase it, and the other is to get it on a loaner program for a couple of weeks. The problem is that the demand is really high, so there's a waiting list, and you have to take that in consideration. But what this guy does is he gets the loaner kit, and then as soon as you sends it back, he gets his name back on the waiting list to get it again. And when he knows it's coming, he starts setting up events to be able to present and show the equipment. So one of the items inside is the X1 Carbon traditional clamshell. All these are touch screens. Nice product. The Twist is really nice also. The Twist is a convertible. So the Twist, let me go back 1 second. This one is a 14-inch screen. So what I've been doing in terms of helping my clients decide what they want or need is I include the screen size as part of the conversation. You should take in consideration what screen size is right for you and some of the other issues. So the Twist is a 12.5 inch screen. It's really nice. Top spins around, lays back down, so you got yourself your tablet, and it's a nice device. I just had a teacher that just got one of those from us. The Helix is kind of like the flagship, most excitement out there. Once you get familiar with it, you go, you know what? This is the best of both worlds. If you want a tablet, the top comes off. This is 11.6 inches, and it's got a battery in the screen itself, so you got about a 6-hour battery life there. And then the bottom, the keyboard, has another battery inside it, so that adds another 4 hours of battery life. So if the top part you're using it in tablet mode and it goes dead, you put it back into the keyboard section, and it'll recharge the top part. So it's got some nice features that way. Also, you can turn it around, click it back into place, and then lay it down so the keyboard and the tablet piece are all in one. Also, in that little lip that you see on the keyboard in that picture, there were extra fans too to help cool the tablet section. So there's also a video on YouTube that I did at the Lenovo conference that was really, really good with this woman that was pregnant, and it's hysterical, but her passion for it was just absolutely incredible. And then, of course, you have the tablet, too, that Lenovo makes. I'm going to have to move a little bit faster here. We're running out of time. The other conversation, even though it's not in the Lenovo Combat Kit, is to have one of these new mini desktops. I mean, they're really incredibly powerful. You're not losing anything with a small form factor. So this is the Lenovo Tiny, which is basically 4 golf balls wide. And when we were out there presenting and showing the desktop alternatives, we got a lot of excitement on it. All right, so we got just 2 minutes left. All right. So I'm going to just finish up here, and that is that the clock is ticking, and D&H distributors, go to their website. So if you're not a partner with D&H, sign up with D&H. Go to dnh.com/XP migrations, and they'll be able to help get you your combat kit either in the loaner program or purchasing it. The deal's really great. And I'm going to pass this off to Harry now.
Sure. So, Jay, yeah, let me, D&H, folks, what makes the world go round is of course, we have some sponsors. And so D&H is a sponsor in conjunction with Lenovo. Appreciate your consideration. You'll receive some follow-up information for that. The other thing would be, want you to think in terms of the capitalization of disruptions in terms of, excuse me, folks, I've got to get it back in display mode. Basically, UMA, the phone system. With UMA, the phone system, they are here's the deal with telephony. When you have a migration, what occurs is that you have disruption, and everything's in play. So the telephony, the demand for telecom, and we have some people on the phone from the response point era, but the demand for telecom is driven by things such as moves and the migrations. So consideration for UMA, consideration for cloud storage from Carbonite. Now, why are we here? Let's talk about this. Why are we here? We're here to kind of get you motivated to talk about the conversation with the Microsoft Community Connections. I'm going to get that to you. Apologies for the screen, folks, and I'll get right back to your questions. So we're here to talk about a contest that we have that we're going to email you details on called Amplification. If you do 2 MCC events, Microsoft Community Connection events of any topic, we want to help you go acquire customers, audience acquisition. And so we have prizes, we have a Colorado golf vacation, etc., that you can participate in. We'll get you that information and, quite frankly, get you excited surrounding customer acquisition in the Windows XP migration motion, as I would call it. Now, with that said, let me take your questions. That's kind of the gist of our conversation. Let me sort. And it looks like I see a lot of opinions, Joshua. They're not necessarily questions, but I do see your opinions, sir. Always welcome. Let's do a last call for questions. If you have any additional questions, let's see. Okay, I do see one here about clarifying the 2015 date versus the 2014 date, and that's from Kevin Knutson. So Kevin, let's take a moment on that. Here's the situation. the April 8th, 2014 is the expiration of extended support for Windows XP in Office 2003, period. What Microsoft did a couple of weeks ago, quite frankly, was create some confusion about extended support for Windows XP malware updates. So it's kind of one of the pillars of the operating system. It doesn't address all the XP shortcomings, all the XP issues, but the malware file, signature files, will be supported until July of 2015. On that same date, in July of 2015, the expiration for servers that have the 2003 servers, be it 2003 or 2003 R2, will expire. So that's an issue, and I hope that clarifies. The point of this webinar could very well be this, is that we want you to hold yourself out to have, if not awareness, maybe some level of expertise regarding XP migrations. And it's these finer points that you can discuss with the customers, because we're already hearing, we're in a couple of meetings yesterday, and we're already hearing that customers now believe they have a full-on extension until mid-2015, and technically that's not true. And so hopefully, Kevin, that kind of clarifies what's going on. You're welcome to go up at smbnation.com and keyword search on my name and blogs, and I kind of spelled this out and made a chart. Now, let me see if I have any more questions, folks. We are at time, so we're going to call that last call for questions. If for some reason another question comes in while we're going off the air, we'll certainly answer them. They appear on the screen. I guess what I'd like to do at this point then is thank you very much for attending today's webinar. It is being recorded. You'll receive a replay link and a thank you early tomorrow morning. And go out, go forth, and multiply. Thank you very much. Have a great day.